Hello everybody, it's Sephiroth04 for another Top 13 for Collab Camerupt. Today we're going to be taking a look at my top 13 favorite looking megas. Now this list is not going to be my favorite megas to use or the ones that I think are the best overall. I'm just going to go for the aesthetics on this one. It might not be your opinion, some of them probably aren't your opinion, but that's okay. Let me know in the comments what you think and any feedback you might want to give on the video. And without further ado, let's get started with number 13. Now, Beedrill is not a very imposing Pokemon. I mean, you could be scared of hornets and things like that, but I mean, it's got its, little Pinter, little, poison points and everything, and that's okay. But when it Mega Evolves, it turns into an engine of death and destruction. I mean, look at that. Everything is now pointy. Its antennae are pointy. All its legs are now pointy, and wings are even pointy. It's just a giant ball of death and destruction, and I'm very happy it became a Mega because it just looks awesome. I mean, just its eyes and everything, but that's why it's my number 13. Number 12. Kyogre is not one of my favorite looking Pokemon. In fact, I think that it looks rather dopey, especially when its mouth is open. It's just going, hey! Its eye looks like it's just, I don't know, it needs sleep. It needs sleep. It's supposed to be like an Orca and a Leviathan put together. I don't know, it's just not great. But when it goes through Primal Reversion, it kind of looks awesome now. I mean, it's got all the glowing points and lines everywhere, and it finally looks like it at least got a little bit of sleep. Its eyes aren't red anymore, but just the way it moves around now, it's like just everything that it had on it is upgraded very nicely. It doesn't look perfect, which is why it is where it is on my list, but it still looks pretty awesome, which is why it's my number 12. Number 11. Charizard has always been an awesome looking Pokemon, and when Pokemon X and Y came out, it actually got 2 Mega Evolutions. One of them I thought looked pretty cool, and the other one not so much so. So, the one I'll be talking about is Mega Charizard Y. Why? Because it looks better. The other one's wings are, I don't know, they look more, I wouldn't say like bat wings, but they just don't look like Charizard wings anymore. And this one, its wings were so awesome that it needed to put wings on its arms. Actually, that doesn't look good, which is why it's lower on my list. But its tail is now spiky. The spike on its head is bigger. It turned into a unicorn, I guess. But just the look in general, it kept the general aesthetics that Charizard had to begin with and expanded them, which is why it's my number 11. Number 10. Houndoom was always a nice looking Pokemon as well. It's definitely one of the more striking ones from Gen 2, but it lacked a certain something, and that was a terrifying nature. Luckily, when it Mega Evolves, it gets that terrifying nature. The skull on its chest expands outward to become this collar of doom and destruction. It gets tusks from its little neck thing. Its horns turn into more Satan-y, as well as its tail gets a fork in it. The shackles on its legs get slightly unbound, and the ones on the back legs are completely gone now. It even changes the color of its nails from silver to blood red. So it's definitely a much cooler change, which is why it is my number 10. Number 9. Garchomp always looked kind of dopey. You're not going to get around that. It was kind of cool as a land shark type thing, but I don't know, it just had a weird nose and everything, but when it Mega Evolves, it looks even dopier. But that's not why it's on my list. I'll be honest, its face is still looks like, I don't know, a blimp or something. But the reason why this is on the list is because it looks like it belongs in something like Pacific Rim. It looks like one of the kaiju, and I just love that look with just the scythe arms and the spikes everywhere, the fin sticking out of its back, and the tail having like a shark tail. and just all the spikes and just the way it's shaped in general. It looks like it belongs in a Godzilla movie or Pacific Rim or something, but it's very well made to look like a kaiju, and that's why it is my number 9. Number 8. Epsall was always a regal Pokemon. It had that little antenna sticking out of its head and just all the fur and everything. It just looked very nice in general. When it Mega Evolves, it increases that aesthetic quite a bit. It gets wings now. It gets a bit of an emo hair, and the fur on its back of its feet come outward. And it just looks nice in general. I mean, the tail gets a bit more like Batwingy, but it just becomes, I would say, more regal. I don't know. It just looks nice, and I wouldn't say it looks like, you know, really cool, which is why it's lower on the list. Actually, it's about halfway through it, but it just looks good. It's a good look for it. It looks cool. The wings, I just really like the wings and the emo hair, but that's why it's my number 8. Number 7. Now, I've always had a thing with Agron. Agron, I felt like, was Gen 3's excuse not to have Tyranitar around, which made me upset, but you can't deny that the thing does look really cool. I mean, you have like the spikes coming at the top of the head there, and it's just armor and everything. But when it Mega Evolves, it just turns into a giant behemoth of destruction. Once again, this thing looks like it belongs in something like Pacific Rim. It looks like another kaiju. It essentially turns from a tank into a mega tank. I mean, the steel is more pronounced everywhere. The armor on its head and back is definitely more noticeable, and it just becomes bulkier in general. And just the way that it's the arms and the legs. The arms go from just slightly armored to having spikes coming out of them, and the same with the legs and the tail, and it's just all very well done. I have to put it lower on the list because I still think that, you know, it's a poor excuse for a Tyranitar, but that's just me. But it is my number 7. Number 6. Rayquaza always looked cool, although its face is kind of dopey, I'll be the first to admit. It has these scrawny little arms and just a nice pattern along its body in general, but I don't know, I would say it's more basic. It looks like it's wearing lipstick, but when it Mega Evolves, it turns into this thing. I don't even know how to classify it. I mean, it gets a delta set of fangs for its mouth. I mean, it's not really fangs, it kind of just sticks out as pork chops, let's say. But it gets these streamers that go along the side of its face from those things, and out of its fins on its head. And when it flies through the sky, as seen in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it essentially, all those things pair up with its tail, with the streamers at the end of its tail. I'm not going to call them streamers. And it turns into like a giant delta symbol, and it just looks really cool. I like how like all the all the lines on its body essentially became those whiskers, tentacles, feelers, whatever you want to say. And so it's essentially like a 3D Rayquaza. I really like it, and that's why it is my number 6. Number 5. Now, Blastoise is a cool Pokemon. It's a turtle. It's a fortress. It's just cool. It's nice. It has cannons coming out of its back, and it's just looks like a turtle. It's cool. But when it Mega Evolves, it just becomes a giant super cannon. I mean, it has, aside from the one cannon on the 2 cannons on its back, turning it into essentially a giant tank cannon, it also gets shell cannons on each arm. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a Mega Man type of thing, and I just really enjoy the way that looks. And just when I saw that for the first time, when they were announcing the Megas for X and Y, I was just like, ah! It was definitely my favorite out of the 3 starter, the Kanto starter Megas, which is why it is my number 5. Number 4. Now, Tyranitar is cool in general. You already saw last time my opinion on Tyranitar. It's actually not my favorite Mega, which is something interesting, but I think I also talked about why I don't particularly like the Mega, but, I mean, I do like it, but you know what I mean. But it looks cool in general. Tyranitar is the 3rd stage of a rock larva bug thing. It starts off as a little Larvitar, then it turns into a Pupa with Pupitar, and then Tyranitar is like the full-grown thing. It's essentially the same color as Larvitar. When it Mega Evolves, its stomach turns from blue to red. It gets these really cool eyes that's reminiscent of like certain types of butterflies, let's say, that kind of scare off predators, which I think it should have gotten Intimidate as an ability, but that's just me. Also, its body just branches out into, well, branches of pure rock, essentially. Its tail opens up, it gets bigger fins on its head. I'm pretty sure its eyes change color from black to red. It just gets like a very nice aesthetic. I enjoy looking at it a lot, and I like it better than something like, let's say, Mega Agron, just because it is more of the aesthetic of it being like some sort of bug, larva, pupa, etc. Even though it is not bug type, obviously. It just has a better, the eyes and everything just show that it is supposed to be something of that sort, and that's why it's my number 4. Number 3. Metagross is a cool Pokemon. It looks kind of weird. It's essentially four Beldums put together, or 2 Metangs fused together into one. It has a mouth on its stomach, if you don't know, but it looks pretty cool. But when it Mega Evolves, it looks really cool. It's all its legs face out frontward. It actually gets 4 legs on the back that you can't really see in the pictures, but the cross on its head turns from silver to gold. It gets a beard because they really liked having beards for some reason with the Megas. If you see, that's like a theme. It's like half the Megas have beards. I don't know why, but its feet turn into claws, and it essentially goes around rocketing all over the place and killing things. And it just looks really cool. It just turns in once again to an engine of death and destruction. And it just struck me that this is like a really good improvement on the Pokemon that already looked pretty nice to begin with. It just made it look a lot stronger. And that's why it is my number 3. Number 2. Steelix was always one of my favorite Pokemon. I really liked its typing. I liked the fact that it's one of the first new steel Pokemon, not a like Magnemite that was changed retroactively. But it's just fun. Its defense is through the roof to begin with, but it's really good. It's hard to get in the original games because you have to trade with the Metal Coat and you have to get the Metal Coat first and things like that. And when it Mega Evolves, what does it turn into? I mean, it has like this ring of stones like orbiting around it. The crystals coming out of its body. Half the segments have these like blue hexagons on them, and once again it gets like a shovel beard. It just turns into this really cool thing. And it's one of the coolest looking, I mean, it's my number 2. It's one of the coolest looking things. It's like, wow. And the shiny for it is fantastic. It's like this a gold Steelix. And it's just like, you just take a look at it and you can't help but think that this is just amazing. And obviously it's also very powerful. But that's for a different video. And that's why it's my number 2. Number 1. Pinter is a very unassuming Pokemon. I mean, it looks angry and stuff, and it has a nice showing in the anime and things like that, but look, it's got its scrawny little arms, and yeah, I mean, it has its face and things like that, but it's not really a Pokemon I would think that most people would want to use, especially considering how hard it is to get in, like, the games that it shows up in originally. But, it's okay. But when it Mega Evolves, what is that? I mean, its pincers turn into like giant briar patches. Its eyes, I don't know what it's angry at, but I hope it's not me. Its arms get these like little, also like added spikes on them. They get a little longer. Its feet contract into its body to turn into just more spikes. Its mouth gets angry. It just turns from a mouth into like an angry mouth. It gets wings on its back, and you can't see it from the picture, but it has like little jetpacks. Like it's really air fans, but still, it just like now it can fly, and it looks like something that if you were to meet it in an alley or a forest, you would be dead. It reminds me a lot of the robotic pincer that Team Rocket had in one of the Pokemon episodes, that they like were riding around into pretending to be a pincer. It's just like, I don't know, it's really cool. It's got the wings now, and the wings are really well done, and I think it's in my opinion the best looking Mega out there, just because it takes a really unassuming Pokemon and turns it into something incredible. The other Megas, for the most part, take like an already good looking Pokemon or an already cool looking Pokemon and embellish it further, but like Pincer's a nobody. You can say that this is actually more similar to Beedrill, but I think that just in general, Mega Beedrill does not look as cool as Mega Pincer did. Mega Pincer just has more of a lasting effect on me, as like when I think of what is a cool Mega, I say Mega Pincer or Mega Steelix. But that is my list of top 13 coolest looking Mega Pokemon. Once again, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what other top 13 lists you'd like to see. It could really be anything Pokemon related. It doesn't have to do with the main games. It doesn't have to do with the games at all. It could just be, what are your thoughts on, top 13 thoughts on whatever. What do you think the top 13 beards on Pokemon, or the things like that. And let me know what you think of the video. The videos are all going to be different, as you can see. Some are going to contain footage, some are just going to be pictures, depending on the time and usage of lists and things like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. For more top 13, check out the other people on this channel. This has been Sephiroth Level 4 for Collab Camerupt. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.